It's about time for a Jeep update video. It's been almost 2 years since I bought my 2019 Jeep Grand Cherokee, and this video is going to be my experience, the damage that's happened, the cost of it, and all of that good stuff. I have a ton of notes right here, and down below I will leave timestamps if there's something specific you want to see, so let's get straight into it. Okay, so if I am looking down, I apologize, but I really have lots of detailed notes because there's lots of numbers and dates and prices that I don't want to get incorrect. So just a couple of background things about my Jeep. It's a 2019 Jeep Grand Cherokee Limited 4x2 in the color silver. I will leave the two videos linked down below. When I first bought my car, I made a car tour, and then a couple months after that, I did an update on how much my insurance and my monthly car note payments are. When I first bought my car, it had 30,096 miles and the selling price was $28,619. My down payment was $3,500 and I financed $32,664. I'm not going to get into the financial details of that, but that's just background info on how much my Jeep cost. Keep in mind, lots of things depend on the cost of it, like the mileage, the condition, and a whole bunch of other things. I actually bought my car on the first day of teaching. So I'm a teacher and it was August 17th, 2020. I had my first day of school, which was really hectic. And like right after school, I immediately went to the dealership to buy my car. So a very eventful first day of school. Also, my first time purchasing a car myself. And I talked about this in a previous video. My monthly car note payments are $527, and right now my insurance is $139 a month, and I will get into that more in a bit. Also keep in mind, when it comes to buying a car, there's so many factors as to what your monthly payments are. It depends on your credit score, your down payment, and a whole bunch of other things. So I'm not going to get into the finances, but let's start with how I found my car. So I actually spent over a year researching cars, and I immediately knew that I wanted to get a Grand Cherokee. I was just obsessed with the way it looked and the features, but it wasn't like an impulse buy. I spent over a year and I would just get on different apps like Auto Trader, Carvana, Cars.com, and just look at different Jeeps around my area. After a couple of months of research, I realized the trim level that I wanted. So the Grand Cherokee has a bunch of different trim levels, and there's different features and packages that come with that. Now, the more higher or the better trim levels are, of course, more expensive. So the trim level that had everything that I wanted but wasn't like a ridiculous price was the Limited, and I believe it's kind of like a mid-level trim. So it had all the things that I wanted, the leather seats, the panoramic sunroof, and I knew that was the one that I wanted to get. So after that, I started looking into the Limited and different years, different mileages, and figuring out how much a car would cost. And when I actually went to the car lot to buy my car, I actually took my parents with me. No, they did not co-sign. I bought this car completely on my own, but I wanted to have people there who were experienced in buying cars because this was my first time buying a car myself. And so it was really helpful to have a second and third opinion when it came to dealing with people at the dealership. So when I went to the dealership, I knew the exact car that I wanted. It was actually the first and the only car that I looked at because I had done so much research and I knew what was out there. I literally went in with my mindset on getting this specific Jeep, and I think the salesperson did try to show me other cars, other Grand Cherokees, but I was like, no, this is the one that I wanted. So we went in, we test drove it, we did all the things, and I ended up, after a couple of hours, walking away with that car. So I did not look at any other cars, did not test drive any other cars, and also the reason why my car had such high mileage. So I bought this car in August of 2020. It's a 2019 and it already had 30,000 miles on it. The reason for that is that this car was used as like a dealer loaner car. So if your car's in the shop, they would give you this car as a rental. I was honestly okay with the mileage because that was was the only way I was able to afford this type of Jeep at this year level. So for me, buying a 2019 car in 2020 was crazy because I thought I'd have to get a car that was at least a couple of years old. So I actually did not mind that it had 30K miles on it. So the maintenance of my car, buying a car that was relatively new, and also when I bought my car, we sat down with the financial person and there was a lot of like back and forth and paperwork, but long story short, a part of my package of buying the car was a maintenance package that included 6 complimentary, which I mean, I paid for it. So 6 oil changes, other things like I think stuff with the tires, with all of that stuff. But the main thing was 6 oil changes. When you have an SUV, oil changes can be pretty expensive, and I also like going to the dealership because I have a nice record of the maintenance every time I go. And so I have got 4 oil changes. I go about every 5 or 6 months. When I'm there, they change my oil, the oil filter. They also check my tires and air them up if that needs to be aired. One thing about going through the dealership is they are always going to try to add on different things to make you spend more money. There was one time that I fell for it and the guy told me that I needed a new air filter and he charged me. So all the other times I go, I don't pay for anything because I already prepaid for all 6 oil changes. I fell for it because he made it sound like I needed this air filter, which I did, but he charged me like $60 for it when I could have went to like a local shop and paid maybe like $20. So lesson learned, if you do something like this through a dealership, go in and only get what you came for. Do not let them talk you into any extras. Whenever you buy a car, it is super important to consider the cost of maintenance. For example, whenever I do have to get all new tires, I know it's going to cost me over $1,000. So keep that in mind when you buy a car. If you get a foreign car, maintenance is going to be more expensive. I remember there was like a period of time where I was obsessed and wanted to get an Audi Q5, but the maintenance for that was not going to be worth it to me or people who get like BMWs or things like that. Keep in mind costs of maintenance. So Jeep Grand Cherokee tires are definitely going to be more expensive than Honda Civic tires. So other than that, I have not had any maintenance issues. I only hand wash my car. I don't go through any like automatic car washes. Yeah, other than that, maintenance has been fine. Okay, let's talk about damage. So I have a timeline of damages that have happened to my car. When I bought my car, it was in perfect condition. There were like a couple of little scrapes here and there, but there was no damage on it. So let's go through the timeline. I bought my car in August 2020 in December of 2020. So a couple of months after I bought it, I was out in Dallas and I was trying to park. I think I was still getting used to like driving an SUV. I had only ever had sedans and I misjudged my turn and I scraped the side of this car. The people were in the car while I was doing this, so that was an interesting experience, but luckily they were really cool about it and nothing happened. But my car had a scrape on the front passenger side. So it had this scrape on it. It wasn't super bad, but it was obviously a scrape because it had kind of peeled off my paint, but I didn't want to pay to go get it fixed. So fast forward to spring 2021. Whenever I drive to work in the mornings, it's cool outside. I bought this car that has a panoramic sunroof because I'm going to use it. So every time I was driving to work down the highway, I would always have my sunroof open like all the way. And there was one morning I was driving to work and a freaking bird like straight flew into my car, like a big bird. I think it was a hawk or something. that size. And when my sunroof is down, there was like this, I'll insert a picture, there was this like wind flap that was supposed to something with aerodynamics. So this giant bird straight up flies into my car and knocks off that wind flap. And this is while I'm going like 75 down the highway, and I was scared that the bird had fell in through the roof. Luckily it didn't, but this big old bird just completely knocked off the wind thing, and I've never gotten that fixed or replaced. Moving to December 2021. One day I was driving and I found a nail in my tire, and the tire pressure was quickly going down. I went to Discount Tire because I had no clue what to do, and they were going to charge me like $500 to replace that tire. And okay, so I'm in Discount Tire. I had already swiped my credit card for $500, and I was in the waiting room, but they hadn't taken my car back to like the area yet. So I call my friend, who I usually call about like car issues, home issues, all of that. And he is like, why are you paying to replace brand new tires? I had sent him a picture of the nail in the tire, and he was like, your tread is perfectly fine. You don't need to replace that. And so I like ran back inside and was able to get a refund before they had taken my car back. I went to this local tire shop and paid $15 to get a patch in it, and it was fixed. I almost spent $500, and all it took was $15 to patch it up. Okay, so the really big thing that happened, January 2022, it was Martin Luther King Jr. Day, a Monday. I got into my first ever car wreck, and I was absolutely so upset because my car is my baby, and I have never ever been in a car wreck before. I was coming back from my parents' house, going down a street, and a car was like in the center lane and was yielding to me to turn across me. But they didn't yield. So basically this girl pulled out in front of me, and I tried to swerve out of the way. I didn't have time, and so we hit, and it was such a huge inconvenience. I'll probably make a whole other video about that, but that was my first car wreck, and it ended up being her fault because she pulled out in front of me. This girl was 16 years old, had just got her license. Like, she didn't even have the actual hard copy on her, and she was driving this really nice like white Audi. I was very annoyed, but it ended up taking like a month or so to deal with the insurance, and my car ended up going to Service King and getting repaired. Now, here's the silver lining. The part of my car that ended up getting hit was the same part that I had scraped turning into that Dallas parking lot. So for free, well, through her insurance, they ended up fixing that part of the car. I got new tires, new paint, and so I was super annoyed, super inconvenienced, very stressed out, but the part of the car that was scraped ended up getting fixed. Okay, next up is insurance. So whenever you get in a car wreck, even if it is not your fault, it is unfortunately going to impact your insurance. So before I got into my car wreck, my Progressive insurance was $115 per month, which is really pretty affordable for full coverage insurance. After my car wreck, it has since gone up to $139 per month, which isn't as bad as it could be, but it's just really annoying, the fact that it was not my fault, and it affects your car value, it affects your insurance. So that was the difference before and after the wreck. Let's talk about gas. So going from a Nissan Altima, and before that my first car was a Honda Civic, to a Jeep Grand Cherokee, I obviously knew that I was going to get worse gas mileage and pay more for gas. But actually my car does pretty well on gas when you compare it to other SUVs, and especially comparing to like a Jeep Wrangler. So my car has been averaging 21 miles to the gallon. When I fill up, I can usually get like 450 to 500 miles on a full tank, which is pretty equal to what I got in my Nissan Altima. I unfortunately do not work from home, so I have to fill up about every 2 weeks. And gas prices have been so crazy. So lately it usually costs me between like $80 to like $95 to fill up. But in Texas right now, and probably everywhere, gas prices are dropping. So on average, before these crazy gas prices, I want to say it would cost around like $70 to fill up. And my tank capacity is 24.6. And this isn't really gas, but kind of. So my car, like yesterday, actually just hit 60,000 miles. And I know that is a lot. So it's 2022 and my 2019 car has 60,000 miles. But keep in mind that I bought it at 30,000. So I've been averaging like 15,000 miles per year, which is pretty average. Next up is my driving experience, and I have absolutely nothing negative to say. I honestly feel so much safer being in an SUV than I felt in a sedan. Like when I got into my car wreck and there were no airbags, it just feels safe in a bigger car. You're sitting up higher, you can see more of the road, and I love not having to like bend down and break my back to get into a car. I'm pretty tall, I'm 5'9", and my Nissan Altima sat so low to the ground. I hated having to like bend down to get in it. Driving features. Okay, let me just list all of my favorite features. So the sunroof, panoramic, heated seats, cooled seats, that has been the biggest blessing. Also remote start. So I can remote start my car. Let's say it's the summertime and it's 105 degrees, which it's been every day in Texas. From my apartment right here, I park right down there. I can remote start my car, and by the time I get down to my car, it's already cooled off. It's already heated. I absolutely love that feature. Apple CarPlay, a backup camera. I never had a backup camera. The trunk is huge. Moving is so much easier. I've moved twice since having my Jeep. I also helped a friend move, so having that trunk space and then I can lay down my back seats, it's really nice to be able to just put things back there to take it from places and moving. And blind spot detectors. So I don't know what to say. Like, I love having a blind spot detector. The only thing that I wish my car did, which is something so simple, is you know how when cars park, you can have the feature where the mirrors go in? That's the only thing that I wish my car did. But other than that, driving experience is amazing and I love all the features. So lastly, I want to talk about the value of my car. One thing that I love about Grand Cherokees is they really retain their value. So if you ever want to sell it or trade it in, typically, unless you completely like damage or trash your car, it's going to retain value pretty well. So I looked on Kelley Blue Book, and of course these are just estimates, but according to Kelley Blue Book, if my car is in good condition, which they say like half of the cars are, it's estimated that my trade-in value is $27,133 to $29,986. If my car is in very good condition, the estimate is like $27,950 to $30,000, which is like right on par with what I bought it for. So I don't plan on trading in or selling anytime soon, but it's nice to know that my car is retaining value pretty well. Okay, so my final thoughts on my Jeep Grand Cherokee update. I can't believe that it's been 2 whole years since I bought this car. I absolutely love this car. Like every single day when I'm getting into my car, when I'm driving my car, when I meet new people and they say like, you got a nice car, which they actually do. I just feel so lucky and happy that I was able to get this car. Yeah, I don't really have much to complain about. I kind of do wish that I got the 4x4, but with that comes worse gas mileage. And if you get a 4x4 or all-wheel drive, it is going to be more expensive than 4x2. Other than that, I love my car. Is it expensive? Yes. And sometimes I do think about if I had gotten a cheaper car, maybe an older Jeep, one that had more miles. So I definitely will say that a car is a huge purchase. And one thing that I wish I did is save up more money to have a bigger down payment. So when I bought my car, I was still living at home with my parents. So I didn't have things like rent, utilities, or any of that. But I also had just started teaching, and I pretty quickly after I started getting my paychecks bought my Jeep and moved out into an apartment. So I do wish I would have stayed at home longer, saved up more money, and put down a bigger down payment so that my car monthly payments were a little bit cheaper. But other than that, I absolutely love my car. That car is my baby, and I'm so happy that I'm able to drive a Jeep Grand Cherokee. My dream car, however, and I don't plan on getting a car anytime soon, Jeep. Can you guys make a Jeep Grand Cherokee that's electric but actually has good range? I know that they recently came out with an electric Wrangler, but the range is like 10 miles, or it's like a hybrid. So I hope that in the future they're able to create a Grand Cherokee that has like at least 250 mile range. Or a Tesla would be my dream car. But as of right now, I am not getting a new car anytime soon. That was my update. If you guys have any other questions, make sure to comment down below, and I will catch you guys in the next video. Bye!